Yes, hello and welcome to First Crack. Great scenes from the Brisbane Lions change rooms, and they've done it again. Last year's premiers back in the top four. They'll take on the Cats, the MCG, in a repeat of last year's preliminary final. They were the Lion Cubs tonight. We'll get to that with the great Leigh Montagna in a second. My name is Jay Clark. We'll speak with David King and Joey. Good evening to you, boys.
Hello, lads. Hello, Jay.
A big day of football and lots of fallout. We'll get to the Dogs and the Dockers, potentially one of the finest performances in Justin Longmuir's coaching career as Fremantle upset the Bulldogs earlier. Lots to discuss from that game as well. But Joey, with one game left, Gold Coast and Essendon on Wednesday night, how does our ladder look?
Well, it's shaping up, isn't it, now? So we've got the weekend that we probably deserved. The Friday night games were classics, and then today, all three games decided by 15 points or less. So that's how it sits as of right now. And what we can say is for the Gold Coast Suns to jump over the Western Bulldogs and to finish in 8th spot, they just need to beat Essendon, obviously. And if it's under 5 goals, around about that margin, they'll finish 8th. If it's anything more than 5 goals, they will finish 7th, and the Hawks will finish 8th. Now, I know it only says 0.8%, but our trusted man, Maxie Lawton, upstairs, has given me the mail, and with the way the percentages are, it'd have to be at least a 5-goal win for the Gold Coast Suns to finish 7th, and we've finally got a settled top 4, and for mine, they are the 4 best teams in it. And
a big swing depending on that margin. So there's going to be a lot of fascination in that clash between the Suns and the Bombers. Let's flip the page and have a look at 10th through 18th. Hasn't changed. Sydney winners on Saturday night, Kingy, but they'll head off for their exit meetings and their wacky Wednesdays, lick their wounds from the year and have a holiday, get ready for next season. But Joey, you're going to kick us off tonight, mate, with your first crack.
Yeah, my first crack is I think that the Brisbane Lions have proved they are still kings of the jungle. They are still the benchmark of the competition, that if you want to win the 2025 Premiership, you're going to have to go through Brisbane Lions, because they have, it says 3rd on the Premiership ladder, but they are still the team that needs to be beaten to win it, because when you look at the season as an overall, and what they do is they rise to every challenge. So that to win against Hawthorn today has cemented them as winning 8 of their 11 games this year against the top 8 sides. Now, no team has come close to that. Fremantle have a pretty good record, and so did Geelong, but that is easily the best record with a healthy percentage against those top 8 sides in the competition. And when you take a look at just some of the numbers that are stacking up, this is the top 8 v top 8. This is where they rank. Some of the key stats: the points for, points against, contest, the turnover game, and the inside 50 differential. So today you look at it, I mean, even though it was a close game, and we'll get to some moments, Hawks had their chances, it was still 10 more shots on goal, 8 more inside 50s, 8 more clearances, 10 contested possessions. And what I loved about the win today is we know they are still missing some players. So no McInerney, no Neil, no Hipwood, no Berry, but it's that next wave of superstars for Brisbane Lions. They're not going anywhere in a hurry. When you think about the way McCluggage, Bailey, Rayner, Wilmot, Ashcroft and Fletcher played today, they are going to be around the top of the mark for a long time to come. And despite the inaccuracies early, where really they could have almost shot themselves in the foot, 1 goal 9 to start the game, they were too good. And they are primed and ready to go again with a couple of players returning in a couple of weeks' time.
Got to be strong players in the free agency space at the end of the year too. Not only the kids in the talent pipeline with Daniel Annabelle, another young star. There's Sam Draper as well, potentially from Essendon, and Oscar Allen. News today that he will join the Lions from West Coast, which we've known for several months now. So it is going to be a mighty top-up. But how did they do it tonight, Joey?
Yeah, I was just impressed with some of their ball movement from the back half. We know they are a kicking team and like to spread the field, but today there are times, particularly in the second quarter and third quarter, where they'll be able to move the ball from coast to coast and early in the game. So they had a lot of repeat entries that were costing them with their accuracy, and they were missing. But when they got some of that flow going and they kept Hawthorn on their toes, they were able to get some really good looks. And as we said, they were all involved. Wilmot's game at halfback was brilliant. They were able to get their stars involved. Fletcher continues to grow, and they were able to really challenge Hawthorn with this style of play. So they were running on top of the ground. It took a while to break Hawthorn's back with the, as I said, the inaccuracy, but I love the way they went about it today, and they've just got modes, the Brisbane Lions, with the way they play, and it was super impressive.
They probe corridor. They continue to probe corridor, and if you fail to defend them, they get through and score, and those high-quality players you're talking about. So they're a constant threat, Joe. I think this is why they're difficult to play against, because as soon as you overload in the corridor, they find the easy targets out wide. They've got
take what the game gives
such
them.
Quality and such class.
We saw that man, Cameron Rayner, kick a 60-metre long bomb to help seal it for the Lions. The other midfielder who was outstanding, Kingy, was Hugh McCluggage.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about Hugh, but he just continues to do it. And I know they've got some luxuries because they've got 3 or 4 guys that you could potentially look at to tag. You know, the Ashcroft boy, certainly Will's in there lighting it up. Lockie Neal not there today. So you're thinking, OK, do they go after a McCluggage? Do they go after a Bailey? Rayner was quiet early, so didn't demand any serious attention. But this guy just continues to do it. Every time the game needs a lift, that they are desperate for a score, it's McCluggage. He's the one you have to clamp in fourth quarters. Go head-to-head as long as you like in, quarters 1, 2, 3 and see how you go as a midfield. But he does it again, 32 disposals, 11 score involvements. He's the perfect player. He really is. He'll be an All-Australian this year and officially recognised as... I'm looking forward to see where he is in your top 50 at the end of the year, because I think he's one of those guys that's chronically overlooked when we talk top 10 players in our competition.
Where do you have him?
Well, just in big games, he does it. And I think we've got to weight the big games now. So I think if he's not inside the top 10, you want to have 10 pretty good ones in front of him.
Looks a top 10 player. Signed a big deal too a couple of years ago and has delivered on that, it must be said. There was a controversial moment late. Hawthorn was brave in this game and really were in it up until the last few minutes. But we can see this moment with Carl Amon backing track towards the boundary line and then handballs it over the line. Now the umpire pays the free kick to the Lions. It goes to Brucey Rowell. You can see the Hawks are absolutely outraged. Rowell kicks the snap, but is this insufficient intent or just a skill error, fellas? Because it looks like Amon was trying to pass to his mate Jack Ginnivan.
Well, for me, it was a skill error. We watched it back and watched it in slow-mo. It looked like it slipped off the knuckle, and we saw as the game unfolded, it started to get a bit more greasy. It was trickier for the players to handle the ball. And I think umpires, this is where there's too much for me, the black and white as opposed to game feel. They were behind, they were trailing, they needed a score. It was a bit casual, so to his own fault, he sort of leant back on it and didn't strike it as well as he would have liked. But that's just a skill error in the game of footy. You can't be paying that insufficient intent in my book. I
don't want one person to say, they even themselves out. They don't even themselves out. They cost you a game of footy when you're trying to finish in the top 4. It has huge implications on games like this. It was 3 points the difference at this stage. He is not trying to waste time. He is not trying to set up behind the ball. They are trying to score.
Trying to win the game.
So the umpires should know that and umpire accordingly. Is he really trying to take it out of bounds? Why would he be trying to take that out of bounds? Why would he be trying to give the Lions a forward 50 stoppage there? I don't understand that. And I think that, we need to just... I know not be too critical of umpiring and a decision here and a decision there, but to say they don't affect and impact games is a nonsense.
What's the noise of affirmation? Does that get paid at the Hawthorn-friendly MCG? I don't think so, but you hear the crowd all go up. We've seen at West Coast have a very favourable free kick ratio and have done for years. The noise of affirmation certainly is a factor, and the Lions fans certainly helped in that occasion. We turn our attention now to the Hawks, Kingy, because they tried to have a plan to avoid the Lions fullback.
Yeah, they did. They did very well against Harris Andrews, particularly early. That you could see what Mitchell had done. OK, we're not going to be beaten by their one-man wall behind the ball. And at half-time, it was working perfectly. Harris has only had the 2 intercept possessions for the day, and they were able to get over the back and really explode and excite. And you thought, hang on, what's happening here? This is tactically brilliant. The small forwards getting on the end of a few and getting into that dangerous space, 70 to 50 from goal. And Marbior, he was on fire for the first quarter. Relatively unsighted after that. They adjusted, they lifted their pressure, the Lions. I thought for the second half, Joey, that Hawthorn were able to get the ball from the inside to the outside, but they still couldn't get through the next layer of pressure, and they gave the ball back to guys like Harris Andrews. But you have to recognise what Hawthorn did that worked so well.
Yeah, they did. That's a plan. If you actually show, people say, you can't necessarily have plans against those interceptors or Max Gawn. You actually can if you go to work on it. You either run at them and kick it over their head, or you change angles like we saw the Hawks do there. But yeah, there were times where they looked really sharp. I thought they were just a bit later in the game, sloppy with their kicks inside 50. They had some really good looks where they had got through and got out, and they just didn't finish their play. So I think Sam Mitchell will be lamenting just some of that last kick inside 50 ball use, because they were getting great opportunities.
To beat Brisbane in September, you have to conquer Harris Andrews. That tactical battle that you just outlined, Kingy, that is the key focus, I would have thought, for their opposition over the next 4 weeks. So that will be very interesting to watch. Righto, David, what's your first crack?
Well, mine's just a simple one. We'll get into the games, and particularly this afternoon at Marvel in a moment. But I just want to talk about the value of a home final in September. What's the worth of it the last few years? I mean, post-COVID is where I'm looking, the last 3 years. So what does it do in terms of your win-loss rate? So we're taking out the games that are neutral venue, so the MCG games for the 2 Victorian-based teams, we've taken those out. That's pretty obvious. So it's almost a 70% win rate if you're playing at home, if you're hosting a travelling team. And that number probably shocks me a little bit. I thought it might have even been higher than that, Joey. Yeah, but we've had quite a few teams have been able to do it on the road. I know you're talking about Brisbane, they're still a team to beat, but those numbers suggest that they've got to come down to the MCG. They've still got to beat Geelong, who have had a pretty uninterrupted run, and we'll get to them later on. But 7 out of 10 are won by the team hosting a travelling team. So it is always harder, as you know. It's an obvious thing to say. There's been a few teams been able to do it. GWS been able to do it in the 23 campaign particularly. Geelong and Brisbane have done it last year. Sydney and Brisbane a few years ago now. So it's a big step. It's a big step to qualify inside the top two, and then obviously the wraparound games from there.
Well, Collingwood so close on the road a week ago. But the MCG will hold no fears for the Lions. Clearly, Hawthorn will back themselves against NG Stadium. So those first three in particular, I think, are absolute crackers. I'm with you, King. I thought that percentage would be higher as well. Let's go to that game today. Earlier at Marvel Stadium, you were there, Joey, as the Fremantle Dockers posted a crucial win over the Bulldogs to seal their spot in the 8 and potentially boot the Bulldogs out of finals. And it was the Fremantle ball movement has been such a fascination all season for you, King.
Yeah, it has. And we've constantly talked about it, and I know the feedback will come, but we just got to recognise what they were able to do today. And I just thought their ball movement at speed, they were able to get out the back, they were able to challenge a vulnerable back six. We've talked and we'll talk about the Western Bulldogs back six in a moment. But when they play like this, all of their talent gets involved. And you end up with randomness forward of the ball. You end up with different players in advantageous positions. Murphy Reid was terrific with some of his issues. This here, you're making it up on the run. The slow ball movement really means you have to kick to 2 or 3 targets only, and it's tough sledding. We saw that in the first quarter. So this was brilliant. And this is what I think finals football is. If you can't play like this, I don't think you can win.
Taking it on.
You can't defend with ball in hand and go all the way in September. I understand there are patches in games where you need to do it to kill some clock and those sorts of things, but that was brilliant today, the way they moved the ball. So when we're talking about ball movement and speed of ball movement, if you're going to go slow like they did in the first quarter, and particularly that third column there, it's basically an aggression indicator. Direction to goal, distance to goal. How far? How challenging are you? Are you coming through corridor? Are you coming quickly? So 86 to 110, quarter to quarter. You saw it. The time ball in hand didn't really change. The distances didn't really change, but the aggression was the thing that really challenged them. So their aggression in terms of direction to goal was the third highest quarter for the year in that second quarter. So they played with a real damage about them, Joey. I don't know whether that's them or that's not them. I really don't.
You want them to play with more chaos.
We do, but we got no controls. They've got their hands on the controls, obviously. But I think that when they play like that, it's not just all Tracy. And Jai Amos got on the interview today. He's been missed in all of this. So when you play with freedom, you can light up. I thought it was. We showed some stuff last week, and we're not going over old ground. We're just trying to highlight the difference a simple handball receive can make. Okay, so last week on First Crack, we did this is the exact same ball. Goes to the half-back flank sort of area, and on the left, there's no give for the handball, and it becomes a kicking competition against a set Brisbane Lions defence. On the right, you'll see that he will pop the handball. So then it becomes difficult to move the ball against high-quality opposition, which is September, and they turn the ball out. That little pop handball there changes everything. Comes at speed, you get quality one-on-ones forward of the ball, you give your forwards a chance. So we're not asking for revolutionary change or looking for revolutionary change, but when you see it, you say, yes, that is terrific, and that is why they scored so heavily in that second term when they kicked, I think, 7 goals too.
Overlap makes a big difference. What about the plan to stop Sam Darcy, Joey?
Yeah, well, on the flip side, I just think still defence wins premierships, and I think we saw that from Fremantle today because their pressure was at over 190 up until three-quarter time. We mentioned during the week that had to be the case, and then I thought the leadership of Alex Pearce on Sam Darcy was enormous. He gave him no room whatsoever to get his run and jump going and his leap. It was only the second time in 2 seasons that he's gone goalless, Sam Darcy. Only had the 4 score involvements, and you could just see throughout the whole game being there, he gave him no separation, whether it was playing right on his back, whether it was playing right in front of him and pushing back. He just didn't allow Sam Darcy to run and jump. I thought Brennan Cox also did a pretty good job on Aaron Norton, and that went a long way to winning the game for Fremantle. So much of the Western Bulldogs ball has gone through those two in the back half of the season, and to take away their ability to run and jump and do what they've done so well, I thought was credit to them. And they stood up, particularly in that first quarter when they were under siege, that back line, and they held on, weathered the storm, and then they had that powerful second and third quarter.
Hayden Young, we've talked about him as having the most important hamstring in the competition. They pulled the trigger. He played today. What did you make of him?
Yeah, you can just see the difference in the class. He only played 65% game time, but what he was able to do was really impact in that time. 16 disposals, 11 of them contested, 5 score involvements. But what was more important with his 6 clearances, 3 of them led to scores. So there were only 3 players this round that had more scores from their clearance wins. That was Luke Parker, Luke Davies-Uniacke and Tom Greene over the weekend. So just to have him back in there. I think the chemistry with Sam Darcy, who continues to get better and better as this season's gone on. The leg drive that you love, King, you get out of trouble. And I just thought it helped out Caleb Serong, who was struggling early.
Yeah.
And when he was struggling early, it was Hayden Young that stepped up early. And then as the game went on, Caleb Serong came into his own.
If he wasn't there in the first quarter, they're in awful trouble.
Yep.
Awful trouble. 6 disposals, and he got through. I mean, we're all just watching and waiting and hoping that he could just get through, Joe. So I think he played 70% odd of ground time, which is just perfect.
There was a nervous moment, however, involving the star Caleb Serong. It was so important in that second quarter fight back for Fremantle. You see the bump here. Now, I think he will be okay, but this will be reviewed tomorrow afternoon by the match review officer, Michael Christian. Now, you slow it down. That's Jordan Croft. He comes down and clearly bumps him in the side of the head. Now, I think that is a genuine play on the ball. He almost gets to the footy first. You'd love to see that other camera angle. I don't feel like he has a concern there. We also know he's a major Brownlow medal threat. So, for me, that is all clear, but they will assess it tomorrow. Do you guys have a view on that one?
No, I would have thought every day of the week that's just contesting the ball and it's incidental contact. I suppose what has created is the Stephen May verdict, and whether some people now will argue, well, what did Stephen May do compared to Caleb Serong? Why is it different? And that's why it's still, there is still this little bit of grey area. But for me, as you said, he's contesting the ball there. That's his only intent. I'd be shocked if he got suspended.
He is low over the footy.
Yeah, no, I agree with all points, but are we going to be asking these players to do something different going forward, do you think? Or is this just part of the risk you take playing our game?
So I reckon as soon as you get into this issue, and we discussed it with the May verdict, where you're hesitating or slowing or stopping before you get the ball in case the other person gets there first and puts their head in the hole, then I think you take that. That's tearing at the fabric of the game. That, for me, is one of the best ball players in the competition, going low and hard for the footy and gets there, if not simultaneously, then before Croft anyway. So I think that's play on, but there is always a degree of uncertainty with these match review incidents. So it will be one to watch, probably Fremantle's second most important player.
What's your first crack? Where are you going with yours?
Yes, my first crack is the fallout for the Dogs, because this will be an unusual couple of days at the kennel because they're still in the mix technically. They've got to train on Tuesday. Can you imagine how flat they'll be for that, waiting for Essendon hopefully to upset Gold Coast on Wednesday night? But there's going to be some really big discussions and decisions, and one of the first few will be regarding Jamara Ugle-Hagan, who won't play for the red, white and blue again. Right, his career is over. The football club are in a process at the moment where it's a bit of a holding pattern. They'll assess any trade interest in the hope that another club might dangle a 3rd or 4th round pick, which I think is unlikely. And if that is the case, if there is no interest, and that's what the market is suggesting at the moment, then I think they'll be in a position, the Western Bulldogs, where they just pay Jamara out. They rip up his contract. They give him, say, half or 3/4 of his contract, which is about $800,000 next year. So you might pay him $500,000, and then his career at the kennel is effectively over. Now, that's a huge loss for a club. A number 1 pick, we know he's prodigiously talented, 40 goals, but I think it's become such a schmozzle, such a mess, such a distraction for the football club this year that I think they're going to move on. And we saw a man today who showed some glimpses. This is the Jamara Ugle-Hagan direct replacement, because Jordan Croft had some moments today. We'll bring up some vision of his match where he looked like a very exciting talent. He's got a huge tank, and aerially we just saw some things where he was fantastic. So the Bulldogs are very excited about him, and he can play that wing half-forward role. That was a great mark there, essentially, for Jamara. So they might dangle the carrot a little bit.
Why can't he play half-back? Why can't he play half-back where he has trained at half-back during last pre-season? We talked about him early in the year. We haven't cited him at all. They're desperate for an interceptor down there, and they just refuse to look at that role.
And that's the biggest issue facing the kennel, because, as you've said, Kingy, they're not going to raise the cup or probably get anywhere near until they improve that defensive performance. Never been more obvious than today as Tracy, Jackson, Amos and even Voss really dominated the airways, completely beat Rory Lobb. So they need to make a priority to go and get some quality established defenders, or at least one in Jack Silvani, if not Noah Bolter, potentially Nick Voston from Richmond. They'll be looking at that. Has to be the priority. Or does Luke Beveridge change his system to make the best of what he's got? He was asked about this question in his press conference earlier.
Definitely at times the opposition key forwards have got a hold of us, so it is an area that we need to continue to focus on to improve and work with our current players who play there, and but perhaps look at whether or not there's an opportunity in the market there.
Said it a few weeks ago, Sam Power is the most important Western Bulldogs employee right now, and he has to get busy because they've got a massive issue behind the footy one-on-one. They get mauled by the best, and not even the best. Guys are more than competitive. So they're 18th in defensive one-on-ones, so they have to maybe minimise the opportunities for the opposition to go inside. As soon as you start doing that, I think you're giving up something. This competition, it is so hard to win in September, you can't be giving up too much of what you've got. You can't be holding back your assets, your strengths, to cater for something else. It is such a balancing act. Today they're involved in 18 one-on-ones. That's the most they've been involved in all year, defensively. And that's strategy from Fremantle, so tick to them. But this is exposing the chasm between the competition and the Western Bulldogs. Rory Lobb was a problem. He's much a problem and hasn't had a great year down back. I think they're still living in the 2024 version of Rory Lobb. He was involved in 6 one-on-ones and lost 4 of them. That's a mauling. So I just think that this is something that's so obvious for everyone to see. Luke sees it, but the full club, Premiership's won by full club. You've got to get everything right, and Sam Power now becomes the most important man.
Devil's advocate, can he change his coaching? Can he change the system?
No, give him some talent. Get talent.
Get more men back, because they are a forward-running team. They are an offensively styled team. Do they just become more defensive in their style and their coaching and their game plan?
Yeah, but that gives up so much of what they're good at. It gives up so much of their point of difference to do that. We've talked about Norton going back and all sorts of things. So they've got to address this, or they'll just live in this bracket of the table.
It's a disappointment if they don't play finals with the talent and team they have got. They'll be unhappy with that result, the Western Bulldogs. It's time now to take a look at our BP value play of the weekend, and that is Toby Greene, who was enormous late with some clutch moments and a couple of marks, fellas.
Yeah, look, he took this one. This was classic Toby, just reared up. This is the one. This is a contender for Mark of the Year, really. Given the status and the position of the game at that particular stage, he charged back with no care for his own safety. He's just a marvel, and really, it's just an excuse for us to play Toby. We love him, so I think that there's a signature moment for that young man.
He's hurting from recent years and what's happened to the GWS Giants, and he's trying to make amends, and he'll do everything he absolutely can.
Kicked 4 today.
Yeah.
4 goals.
Straight sets last year. There would still be scars. They could have won both of those finals, the Giants, and have plenty of time.
But they get some players back. They'll get Brent Daniels back. Hopefully Josh Kelly, Jack Buckley, still waiting to see. So if they can get the full cattle there, watch out come September.
The Saints showed some encouraging signs today, Kingy, particularly Darcy Wilson, 5 goals. Some of that young talent we know. We've spoken about Max Hall a little bit, but there's some rays of sunshine there for the Saints.
I'm excited about the Sweet Feet Saints. And that's Sinclair to Nasiah to Wilson, straight through the middle. Hall's another one that can do it. Filippo we haven't seen enough of, and he's just playing under a bit of duress. When you see him, he's not 100% healthy. They have got some super flushes. They got guys that just know how to hit the footy, and I can't wait to see them over the next couple of years. I think they're building a good core of damaging profile. We just talked about McCluggage, Bailey and Rayner. I think these guys have the ability to get to that level. I hope they're watching the final series closely and studying how these guys work and what they do and the damage they're trying to inflict every time they get the footy.
One thing they have done, and while we've spoken about other list builds like Carlton and Melbourne having too many sort of contests and players that can't run, St Kilda have been drafting that fleet-footed running style of player for a few years now. When you think about Travalia and Wilson, and they went and got Liam Henry, who we haven't seen the best of yet, but can run. Boxall, Garcia, Hall, all these blokes are skillful, nimble, fast feet that can run. So I think they're building the right profile. They just need to continue to develop their game and get more maturity and more games into them.
That's the trend in the game. Plus, they're looking at Lekalia, Liam Ryan potentially. We know Tom DeCone postponing as well, so the Saints are going to be busy in the trade period. Right, we can't wait for Wednesday night. Can Essendon cause one of the upsets of the season against the Gold Coast? We'll find out on Fox Footy on Wednesday night.
You're playing for a finals campaign. If you need me to sit there and give you a motivational speech to want to play your first finals campaign in our organisation's history, then you're playing the wrong game. Our players have got to pick themselves up, they've got to lead from the front, they're going to take charge, I'm going to hand it over to them, and we're going to see what this group's made of, because they are made out of something special. Tonight they didn't show it, but I think they're capable of doing some really good things.
What got you over the line tonight?
Probably fight.
Christian Petrarca to make the Collingwood headaches migraines. Comes up with the true boots, and Melbourne are here to demonise the Pies.
Who's it going to be? Ned Long to the square and beyond. He's not giving up. We know the Magpies won't.
McCreary gets to the back. He's got plenty. Has a look. Sets it up magnificently for Elliott. Jamie Elliott opens it up. There are goals left in this game. Collingwood snap back.
Schultz shoots and scores. And the Magpies are back in front.
16 wins and a good percentage. It's a crazy year when 16 sort of, you're not sure where you're going to land. It's just nice to win a close game. We haven't won one for a while. Yeah, we put ourselves, we've got a pulse now. We're alive.
Collingwood has done nothing less than salvaged its premiership mission. The free fall halted. The double chance still in play. The Pies might yet be the team to beat.
Great call there from Gerard Whateley. It has been a roller coaster ride for the Magpies this year. They're headed back to Adelaide where they'll take on the Crows. It will be a must watch. What did you make of the Pies, Joey? Do you still think they're a genuine contender for the flag?
Well, what does help is the way I think that they rediscovered their efficiency on offence, because it had been something that had been missing for a big chunk of the second half of the season. It was almost like, to me, they forced themselves to rediscover their DNA, because of the first 12 weeks of the year when they went 10-2, they were the most efficient side in the competition going inside 50. And then for a whole host of reasons, it significantly dropped away for 10 weeks there where they went 5-5 and were spluttering. But then they found it. They found it in particular in the second quarter of this game, and it was almost like it was a clear directive, right? We are going through the corridor. We are just going to work our way to rediscover our form. When look at Nick Dacos putting his hand up. We're not going to go down the line. We're going to attack. And they just did it at every opportunity. And sometimes it was long, sometimes it was short. But what it just did is, by being so aggressive through the corridor, it gave them more avenues to going inside 50. So last week in the game against Adelaide, we know they had over 70 entries and really struggled. But here they win the ball back. Josh Dacos could have gone outboard, could have given the handball. No, our plan this game is to definitely look into the corridor. And they're all starting to get on the same page. The midfielders were queuing up. They all knew what they were doing. And despite having the 27 shots on goal, it was inaccuracy. 11 goals, 16. Probably cost them kicking a bigger score. But I just love this. You know, these sort of kicks that they were famous for the last couple of years, that would catch the opposition off guard, that no one else would dare take but Collingwood. And I thought that they had a clear plan to do that. It looked much better and it gave them really good looks. So if they can continue that and build on it, then maybe they can do some damage in September.
Aggressive, Kingy?
Yeah, and I think Craig McRae summed it up perfectly in the post-match when he said at three-quarter time, I said, guys, stop boring me. Let's go, let's play. And it is all reflected in the speed of ball movement stuff, and it's sometimes hard to read, I understand. But to point out the bits that really matter, bottom right corner there, DTG, that's an aggression indicator, distance towards goal. That's the highest reading, the highest fourth quarter for something like 6 weeks. It's the top 4 or 5 for the quarters for the year. So that real aggression, we're going straight through the heart as long as we can. We're going to challenge the opposition quickly. OK, they're still patient when they get the ball, but it's long and it's strong. It's bypassing all those zones and those grids that the opposition are trying to set up. Obviously, you're trying to go around max in this game, but they've got different gears. And I don't know whether they've found their perfect gear just yet.
No, they're still working on it, aren't
It
they?
still looks like it's a little bit clunky with Collingwood at the moment against Melbourne. I would have thought they would have been a bit more convincing. So is that a worry or not? Who knows? But when they needed it, when you had to have it, they were aggressive enough to get it on the scoreboard. A 5-goal final term was seriously impressive.
Yeah, 15 points down, three-quarter time. It was the old Collingwood. Just throw it in the corridor. Pendlebury back behind the ball, setting everything up, and they were all on the same page, and away they went, and it was one of their famous victories.
He saved in the back half, Pendles, no doubt about that. And also, Geordie to Goey is probably his most impressive performance.
Well, this is another big positive for Collingwood coming into September. Is we've been crying out for Nick Dacos to get some support, Kingy, for weeks and weeks, and he's got his right-hand man back there, Jordan De Goey. This was his best game easily, probably for almost 18 months. He looked like he had his explosiveness and power back. He was able to break out of congestion. He's gut running, so to have the 26 disposals, 6 clearances, 3 score assists and 11 contested possessions. But it was this sort of stuff that I think is going to excite not only Nick Dacos, but some of his other teammates. And this was the one, this clip here. So not so much from contest, but he gets it once and then watch him put the hammer down. And this is what I want to see more from Geordie, now that he's had the bit of body of work behind him to be able to set up an opportunity at goal. So
Trust the body a bit.
Trust it now. Just let it go. You know, he's got to trust the work, and who knows, with him at the top of his game and Nick Dacos, well, of course, anything's possible.
And I think there's a wild card in there. Beau McCreery is the speed that they need. He's the one that can sit and get 5-10 yards on an opponent really quickly, and they like to use him by hand. I think he had 8 or 9 scoring involvements. He was off the ground for a bit. There's a bit of concern about him for a while, but I think he's the one that they should trust more at centre bounce because he's defensively brilliant and his ability to chase and hunt and tackle is terrific, and I think he gets the other way quicker than most, Joey. So he's almost mini-me of the Jordan De Goey sort of brand.
And in an ageing engine room, he does provide some of that real shake-up pace. What did you make of Melbourne, King?
I thought they played some really extravagant and expansive footy. And I know this had been the case for the last few weeks, but when they attacked corridor, particularly by hand, and did it quickly, I thought their guns handballed more than I've ever seen. You know, Petrarca, he finishes with 14 handballs. Oliver has 19 handballs. Salem has 10. Langford has 12. Well, they're big numbers. They're big numbers. And when Melbourne handball, they're a different team because they've got a heap of slaughtermen that want to kick the footy. Look at this. This is a worry for Collingwood for me. How quickly they were exposed through the corridor in patches in this game. We just watched a couple of cracking games this afternoon and this evening that this defensively wouldn't stand up. You get exposed. If you give corridor at this sort of speed in September, you're gone. So I love the way Melbourne played, Joey. You can flip it both ways. You can say you're concerned about Collingwood defensively. I think you have to leave this game with some concerns. But I'm more here for Melbourne at the moment to say, well done for making the change. How it cost the coach his job is still a mystery to me. But they have made the step to playing modern footy.
Yeah, they have, and that's why it excites the new coach, to be able to see this. There is still enough talent here. We've spoken ad nauseum that it's hard to have a game plan when you can't kick the footy, and their 4 best players have all been very, very ordinary kicks. So to use their handball game and get the run and wave with the talent, there's a lot to work with. And we've seen it makes Bailey Fritsch a better player because he's getting on the end of some good supply and getting out the back. So I like Melbourne's back end of the season, not just the last couple of weeks. I think their last 6 to 8 weeks they showed that maybe they're not as far away as maybe some others think, and they put in a strong showing but just weren't good enough again. They've just got to learn how to win the close games.
The ruck position in the All-Australian team is going to be one of the most fascinating points of the night. How did you rate the superstar Melbourne captain, King?
Just want to show him for one last time this year because, you know, we've shown, I think, Sherry a lot. We've shown Ruckman getting forward and the importance of him and getting behind the ball. This guy's still a force. Yep. I mean, what a leader. I don't know if he can do it. At some point, Joey, he has to drop off. He really, you just can't keep doing this with such anger and brutality and physicality year in, year out and not pay a price. Maybe he tips over next year or the year after, who knows. But if they are to win one, this is my quandary with Melbourne. The new coach walking in has only got Max Gawn for a shortened period of time. I think they have to step into being aggressive to win one rather than rebuilding. As soon as they lose Max, this is a different team. So this conversation, and we keep talking about it, whether it's Nathan Buckley or someone else coming into this role, what are you doing with Petrarca and Oliver? And then are you going to give Max a time frame he can work within to win that extra premiership?
It's a good call. And make no mistake, he's fended off all the challenges for the All-Australian ruck spot. That's his.
Lock him in?
Yep.
he would love to contend for another premiership. So it'll be interesting, that attitude of the new coach and how they can build around him. Right, the Cats did it easy again on Saturday afternoon, Joey. And Tom Stewart, who had a probably slower start to the season, is picking up his form late.
No, absolutely he did. He had an unusual slow start to his season this year, but the last 10 or so weeks he's starting to find his very best form. And beware of Tom Stewart. Talk about Max Gawn making Melbourne a different team when he's up and about. Tom Stewart is still so important to what Geelong want to do. And we'll get to the numbers in a moment, but over the last 10 weeks or so, he's the number one player in the competition that when he intercepts the ball, turning that into a score. And Kingy, you highlighted halfway through the year about Tom Stewart, comparing him to Dane Zorko and not being aggressive with his disposal, whether that was just a bit of lack of confidence. We know he had that knee issue, but he certainly changed that, and it's given them a different look. So you can just see the numbers. They speak for themselves, what he's been able to do the last 10 weeks or so. It's mighty impressive, and it makes why the Cats, for me, are going to be right there, because they are just humming at the right time.
They're back to superstar numbers. That is a significant shift. I think he's playing with a lot more pain than we thought in that first half of the season with that knee injury. What are you making of the Cats and how they're moving the ball?
I just want to highlight this is why they're so different. You've got to have a point of difference to win it, right? And they're wide warriors. They separate the ground into the two wide sort of sections of the field, and they'll just beat you with work rate wide. Now, you set up to zone and guard corridor normally because you're petrified of teams coming through the corridor, and they bypass you. They stay wide, they keep it wide and they keep going. You've talked about the Dash brothers, but there's also the wingmen that get involved. There's the ruckman that becomes a key position player and they get another runner involved. I think this is brilliant. I think this is something that every team has to plan for one given week. And that's the challenge. If you can make a team struggle to change and evolve, but most teams are guarding corridor and they're saying, hey, guard it. No worries. We're just going to stay wide and go at speed. They can kick, they can convert. They've got some of the best kicks in the competition, and they're all runners. So I love what they've done. They're hitting this final series with a home ground advantage and an absolute 100% healthy list. They are the number one seed.
They got the wheels with Max Holmes and Bailey Smith, and then they inject Brian Myers, one of the best endurance runners in the competition, into that Auburn ball mix as well. Sean Manor, you've been a big fan of, Joey. He's been in fantastic form. But Adelaide has been a significant story as well. They got the job done over North Melbourne to clinch the minor premiership for the first time since 2017. And it was your man, Riley Thilthorpe, who will really strut his stuff, King.
Is he the best tall forward in the game? And everyone's talked about Sam Darcy. I think this guy threatens that status. And I'm not sure whether you're more worried about him as a forward or more worried about him as a ruckman.
Really?
Yeah, because I think that his ruck minutes are underutilised. He's a one grabber. Once they go in, they don't come out. Doesn't matter. Look at that. He's left two in his wake. This is the stuff that really excites me. So he's in the ruck here against Tristan Xerri, right? And ruckmen do this. They sleep for split seconds. Look at this. He's gone. And now he's a viable down-the-line target, and away you go. Doesn't look like much, but he will catch every ruckman in a final series napping the way that he charges forward. He will be a goal kicker as a ruckman in a final series. I think this guy has the greatest scope to be Mr. September because of this. Look at this. He's charging here. Xerri knows he can't go with him. He's panicking. He's pointing at him. He's saying, someone grab him, someone grab him. And Riley gets there. Now, if the skipper had a turn and seen him, and he's got to be better than this. They've got to see this. This is an advantage they should be able to get 2 to 3 opportunities a game from. And they may be goals. In a tight campaign, this is the difference. So if they get that there quickly, there's not a defender in the game that's ready to roll off a man and cover for their ruckman. So as a ruckman, Nixie... Give him some more opportunity, give him some more minutes.
That's a mobility. That mobility is certainly an edge. That's great vision, Kingy. Right now, it's time for health. Is your best player, thanks to HBF Health Insurance. Been a big story, Isaac Rankine. A 4-match suspension for him, Joey. How much are they going to miss him at the Crows?
I think more than we realise. I think he's going to be significant because there is a little concern with the Adelaide Crows in regard to their clearance game at the moment, and it was completely beaten by North Melbourne in a big way, and it was obvious, but it hasn't just been this game. They've lost now the clearance battle by a fair bit in 3 of their last 4. And when you look at Adelaide's team, they are a bit different because they don't have the one gun inside mid that wins the clearances. They do it by committee. They all share the load. They all average around about the same. All average 4 clearances a game. Peatling, Saligo, Dawson. And without Rankine, They are just coming up a little bit short. You can see the numbers there. They are losing the clearance differential battle, which means they're losing field position. And it's nothing significant, but they're just giving up first possession a little bit. They're just a bit reactive. You know, Berry and Peatling, are they as aggressive to try and be the hit to as some of the other stars? And when we talk about the teams they've lost the clearance battle to, we're not talking about the best clearance teams in the comp. Like North Melbourne are pretty good, but they got beaten by Hawthorn and Collingwood, who aren't elite clearance teams. But they are just giving up too much at the moment, which is a meaning they have to defend. And Kingy, I know you've spoken about how good their defence are, and they might have to be to hold up if they continue. Because this one is just Luke Parker, a simple shove off Peatling, and they flick it around by hand, and they're able to put the Adelaide Crows to the sword. So Rankine, not only is he going to be missed, he's their one that when he wins clearance, he's the best player at turning that into a score in the Adelaide Crows lineup. So they are missing that. That's where they rank in the competition for clearances. So they don't have anyone in the top 35. So they all need to do their bit, and it's just going to be a watch because even Riley O'Brien for a ruckman is the 16th ranked ruckman for winning clearance himself. He's not necessarily a big follow-up. So it could cost them field position, which is going to make it hard for them against the very best teams in September.
Do you think they can win it with this profile?
They still can, but they're going to have to rely on their forwards to be highly efficient and their defence to hold up and be elite, which they have been, so they can. Or the midfield have got to get a lot better in September.
How big is a headache do you think it is?
Huge. I mean, you can't. If you're playing tennis, you can't return serve all day. That's the gap, isn't it? You get a 6-on-6 opportunity, 6 one-on-ones from centre bounce. You want that as many times as you can, and they're off the mark.
They're interesting numbers, Joey. Right, let's take a look. Between the cracks, thanks to Workday, Kingy, it was an amazing game on Friday night. Port Adelaide stopping the Suns midfield. How did they do it?
Well, they went after Rowell. They hunted Rowell. And we've talked a lot about their big three in the middle, but Rowell's the one that if you can stop his clearance game, then you go a long way to getting them done. The numbers sort of speak for themselves. Like all of his score involvements come from when the game is restarting, from either a stoppage or a drop a ball opportunity. So more than 9, and his 9 score involvements less than 9 or 8 or less than 9, he drops down to 5. If 5's a very average game for a midfielder in the prime zones, you're giving him marquee roles, and they hunted him. They didn't give him an inch. I reckon Butters ran him down 4 times. Rosie had him in the crosshairs all day. Boak got him a few times, and they just stripped him as often as they could. So the physicality was another thing that I noticed around clearance. They didn't let him get on the move, and he just gave in to it. I'm not saying he gave up, but he didn't challenge him, Joe. He didn't get on the fly. He didn't stand back an extra 3 metres. And look at that. He allowed them to get separation on him.
Noticing the same thing. I was just wondering, watching this, whether there's a little bit of fatigue factor. There's been a heavy reliance on Rowell and Anderson this season all year long.
Mate, this is
late in the year, they've just haven't been as sharp as they have been for the majority of the year. And I just wonder whether, maybe talk about other teams just getting a few more rotations through the centre bounces at times and just easing the load a little bit, playing them in a different position, whether it's going to catch up with them the last couple of weeks and next week into finals, just to watch for me, because the numbers back it up.
Yeah, look, they're reliant on too few. We understand that, and they're going into their first opportunity for finals. So they're not the finished product yet, but they've done a great job for the year. But he has to be better than that. I'm just not giving him the out.
Yeah.
He's a full AFL commodity now. He's old enough to handle the minutes and the workload. He can do it, but he can't be accepting of other people taking his position off him.
Looks like it's how you cut the head off the Gold Coast snake. Right, we saw Brisbane topple Hawthorn earlier in the evening. We'll cross now to the press conference of Hawthorn coach Sam Mitchell.
Well, I think since they've introduced I think before there was the bye, no one had won it outside the top 4. And since then, I think a couple of teams have, including Brisbane last year. So we're not running ourselves off. We're disappointed, but excited. And I'm sure every Hawks fan right now is thinking, that would have been a good one to get. But get to play 4 finals instead of 3 now. So, for us, we know we've got a big 2 weeks, and we're going to have a huge performance and finals footy for the 2nd year in a row, which is great for our group, and really excited to be part of it. So there's only one team that finishes their season happy, really. Everyone else finishes it either now, which is 10 teams, or the other 7 will lose a final. So making sure we're that one that's left at the end.
Reasonably upbeat, Joey.
Yep.
The coach.
Yep. Sending a message to his players. Righto. Doesn't matter where we finished. Ideally, because you don't want to be too disappointed. You don't want to affect them that they had top 4 right there. So he's just giving that positive vibe. It doesn't matter. We can still
It's a whole new season, isn't it?
Yep.
It's a whole new... You're on the grid. Yep, this is what we've got, guys. This is where we're starting. We've got to, some have got to win 3, some have got to win 4. That's the reality. That's all it means to him. It's a little bit harder after today's loss, but they showed some signs. They're good enough. They've come good at the right time of year.
Back on the horse at Hawthorn. Right, it's time for a short break. First, let's cross to Bernie Vince from PointsBet. Bernie, what's your first crack?
Thanks, guys. My first crack is the Suns set to surge into September with a big win over the Bombers on Wednesday night. The Bombers really limping to the line. 12 losses in a row, and I think after Wednesday night it'll be 13. Time to put 2025 behind them. There's been a few hiccups along the way for the Gold Coast, though, leading into September. None bigger than their loss to Port Adelaide on Saturday night, dashing any hopes of a potential top 4 spot, but I think they get it done in a big way. And that's why I've gone a Gold Coast heavy same-game multi for Wednesday night. I like the Suns to win by 40+. Noah Anderson, he's on fire this season. I like him to have 30+. Matty Rowell, 25+. And Big Ben King to finish off up front with 4 goals plus. Look at that value there, $4.75. You can find all those odds plus a whole heap more on the PointsBet app. Have a great week.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
You're playing for a finals campaign. If you need me to sit there and give you a motivational speech to want to play your first finals campaign in our organisation's history, then you're playing the wrong game. Our players have got to pick themselves up, they've got to lead from the front, they're going to take charge, I'm going to hand it over to them, and we're going to see what this group's made of.
They gave Trav, they gave Chad, they gave Rob, they gave Doc Fisher, myself. They gave us something that we deserve because we're just good people, and that's all you can ever wish to be as a good person.
You hope for a better ending?
Nah, I didn't think we had any chance.
Thanks,
I can say that now.
I think we're in pretty good shape. It's not a matter of us thinking we need the bye and we have players who need that extra time off. We're pretty much ready to go.
We feel like we've got some growth. We've got some games into our younger players. Our first-year boys showed some huge growth.
It's like the duck. It just looks like nothing too much is happening on the top, but we're paddling like all buggery underneath. A lot of hard work's been done, and we feel like we're on the right path.
We give ourselves the best chance, and we did that for 3 weeks. It's been not necessarily our best footy, but we've got the job done. And now that's put us at the start line, as I said, in a position as good as you possibly could be.
I'm sure anyone in this room would be pretty happy with that at the start of the year. It's a crazy year when 16 sort of, you're not sure where you're going to land. We celebrated that just after with our whole group, and we put ourselves, we've got a pulse now, we're alive.
Definitely a chance gone missing. Proud of the way they played, but also disappointed because you want to win. You're here to win games of footy.
We need to make sure that we're continually improving because we're not playing next weekend or in 2 weeks' time. We're not playing, so we need to improve.
We've got evidence now to show what we do and the way we're trying to play, and these guys can really stack up against the best. Now it's about getting to work to be able to do it for 120 minutes for 24 games plus finals.
Things keep coming up every week for us at the moment, unfortunately, but we just keep finding a way to get out there and competing.
So we had a bit of a choice to make, and the choice was to never give up and see the end of the season. I think that's what we've seen. So there's a lot of leverage off that.
Yes, welcome back to First Crack. What are you laughing at, David? David King. It is time for Who Had a Crack, brought to you by Hunt. Great taste, low carb, how good. I tell you who had a crack. It was Damien Hardwick at some of the umpiring after their loss to Port Adelaide. Let's have a listen to the Suns coach.
Oh, I thought the umpires got caught up in the emotion of the game. Can happen.
What was about the emotion?
Well, asking the wrong bloke the wrong question. Maybe ask the umpiring department.
So that's him being a little bit grumpy there, Kingy.
So I want to show what he's talking about, and you make your own mind up at home. And there's about 8 decisions that are line ball, and I think they lost on all 8 of them. Is that a 50? You could say, yep, he's touched his head. Yep, 50-metre penalty, bad luck. And you say, OK, they were earlier in the game, and then it got a little bit serious. Is that Is that a free kick? I think Ben Long was hardly done by a couple of times when he was stood under some high balls inside forward 50. That gets paid more often than not. That was just play on.
I hope you're showing this one, yeah.
This one here, that's just not a free kick. Simple as that. They'll say, oh, it's just an error, swings and roundabouts. They lost this game by 4 points.
Yep.
That's a free kick every day of the week. So I can understand why Damien Hardwick is putting this to the fore. And I think you have to have some empathy for the position he's in. He's trying to get this locked away as quick as possible. He would love the ability to maybe, I don't know whether they would have affected selection on Wednesday night, probably not, because they had an opportunity to jump up the table again. But it's a big difference. It's a big competition we're running here, high stakes. I can understand his frustration.
Big night for Port Ken and Travis Boat. That noise of information.
Hasn't been a great year for the umpires. We can all say that.
There has been some issues, but at home it's loud, Joey. That's what it helps. It's influential. They're noisy. Right, we're going to be back with more shortly. It's our Premiership seedings coming up after the break on First Crack. Back to First Crack. It's time to talk Premiership seedings. Leigh Montagna, you are particularly keen on yours?
Nah, yeah, not going out too far on a limb. Brisbane Premiership favourites for me right now. Geelong, Adelaide, Collingwood are my top four. The top four on the ladder, could you believe?
Yeah, amazing.
Just different order.
Revelation.
Well, yeah.
Well, mine aren't. I've gone Geelong. I think that the 70% home ground advantage. They win next week. They may wrap back around and come. I put Hawthorn in. I was surprised with how good they were today.
Thought about it.
Yeah.
And I think I've also gone the Cats. We've all picked Geelong for this year's Premiership. Brisbane.
Brisbane, just.
You? Sorry, mate.
Couldn't split them.
Quite paying attention to yours. Sorry about that, Joey.
As long as yours is there, Joey, that's all that matters.
And Collingwood, my apologies to you, Leigh. You've been fantastic. Joey, you've been pretty good.
Yeah.
My name
It's a long year.
We'll see you on Wednesday night for the First Crack preview.
Very long round.